Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space. I hope you enjoy. Convoy Defense Measures, written by Damascus Sarah. 2534 CE, June 24th. Mixed species Congo convoy currently passing through system 2342 in the Orion Arm. Piracy threat 23%. List of ships in convoy: Verelian, cargo freighter, VCCS Eye of Glory. Basic point defense cannons, convoy head. Verelian luxury transport, VLC, Starry Skies, unarmed. Karasi cargo freighter, KSCI, screw taxes, basic point defense cannons. Erasian cargo freighter, ICF, profit of profit. Substantial point defense systems. Terran cargo freighter, UNCS, Venus flytrap, substantial point defense systems. Captain James Campbell of the Venus flypot looked out onto the brig of his ship, sipping a cup of sealed coffee as his acceleration of half G kept him standing on the ground as if he were on a downsized version of Earth. Though he had never been on the homeworld himself, taking a deep, long gulp of the black beverage, the savior of tired scholars, officers, and workers alike throughout human history, he sighed in relief at having the forethought to bring an extra-large supply of caffeine-filled beans onto his ship, along with a state-of-the-art coffee maker. And judging by a dozen crew members of the bridge with their own hot cup beside them, they all appreciated it as well, especially since they were all woken up to deal with a soon-to-be pirate attack. "What is their trajectory?" Captain Campbell says as the officer to his left, watching a three-dimensional hologram of the local system zoomed in to where both the convoy and the incoming fleet of ships are a reasonable size. A line showing the current trajectories of both fleets meeting an intercept. 4 hours away, 2 hours before they get into hypothetical weapons range, depending on what armament the pirates got. And they're already within our effective range. Any closer, and it'll be near impossible to miss, the navigation officer says, relaying the information to the captain's terminal in front of him. "Incoming tight beam communications from the rest of the fleet, Captain. Seems they're starting to get antsy about the incoming contacts. Should we ignore them again?" The comm officer relays the request on the captain terminals as well. "Accept them, visual and audio," Campbell says, while taking the last gulp of his sacred coffee, before magnetically locking the cup to the floor and leaning back in his flight seat. The other 4 captains begin showing onto the screen, each one looking increasingly worried or holding back anger at being ignored in such a time when pirates are burning hard towards them and their precious cargo. "Finally! We have been trying to get into contact with you since the pirates showed up on raider 5 hours ago. Where have you been? They're nearly in weapons range by now." The captain of the Starry Sky shouts at him, loud enough that Campbell and likely every other captain decreased their volume of him a few percentages. "Sorry, we couldn't comfort you and give you a teddy bear to hug, but we've been busy figuring out how to deal with the pirates so that you don't have to worry. Just let us deal with them," Campbell states calm, which only seems to anger the other captains more. "Even your ship's point defense cannons don't seem to be enough. It looks like you are facing..." The Starry Skies captain began to shout before he was interrupted. 3 corvette-sized craft, 2 frigate-sized craft, yes, I'm well aware. We have this planned out already. So, if you don't mind, I would like to spend the next hour before they demand cargo, and we start shooting to be in quiet, if you don't mind." "Shooting? What do you mean, shooting? We wait for them to send the price, and we either pay it or send cargo of its value. Shooting them is only going to make them angrier, and want more if they don't just scrap your ship with a few railgun shots." The captain of the Prophet of Profit also begins to shout out, while the other captains look panicked as if the Terran had lost his mind. "Shut up!" Campbell shouts at full volume into his microphone, making the other captains take off their headsets and earbuds for a moment to clear the ringing in their ears. Waiting a moment for them to put them back on, Campbell continues, "Let us here handle this, and you can tell us about how reckless or irresponsible we are afterwards. I'm not giving a cent to a pirate scum." Captain Campbell looked over to his comms officer, who cuts the link making the bridge silent once again, except for the occasional sip of coffee. And now we wait for the pirates. 1 hour later, all ships in the fleet get a communication from the pirates. Camel opens up the link while making sure the other captains don't open theirs so they can't screw it up. Taking a sip from the freshly brewed cup of coffee, Camel once again thanks the gods of Earth for creating coffee bean millennia ago. Finishing his imagined prayer of sipping the beverage, he looks towards the impatient and raging-looking alien pirate, glaring at him through the screen. Evening, or, well, it's evening for us. Your sudden activation of your transponder woke us up here on the Venus fly plant. What seems to be the problem?
The problem is that you're going through our space without paying the tithe we require, but that can easily be rectified. We require 10% of the cargo from each of your ships, and we can guarantee safe passage, of course.
The alien smirked it away he probably thought was intimidating. Camel was less than impressed. Sorry, no can do. Company policy states we're not allowed to transfer cargo except by a validated recipient. You're gonna have to call corporate about Annie.
Okay, you're clearly not getting this, so let me rephrase this. We are robbing you. Give us your cargo or we will shoot you.
Oh, I see. Well, then that does change things, does it? Campbell looks over at the gunnery officer. Hey, Officer Dale, can you give the man our share of cargo? I'll be sure to notify the rest of my compatriots to comply. Campbell smiles the fakest smile he's ever had to make, while the pirate captain glares at the baring teeth. Good to see that The cargo containers stacked row upon row on the Venus fly plant suddenly have their doors flung open as every second cargo container launches a large tube into space, slowly floating out past the ship and starting to fall behind as the ship's thrust continues leaving them behind, until their own engines light up, and a dozen missiles immediately burn hard towards the pirate fleet.
You understand?
The pirate captain is cut off by red warning lights and klaxons sounding on his ship. Here comes some of our cargo heading express delivery right towards you. Do enjoy. Camel smirks back.
You treacherous whelp. Fire back. Scrap them into slag.
The pirate shouts out while cutting communication with the captain. The threat detection boards light up with a half-dozen torpedoes flying straight for the Terran ship. The ship's general quarters alarm blaring at every crew member and finds the nearest harness seat and buckles in for evasive maneuvers. 2 railgun shots begin streaming fast towards the Terran ship, signified by a yellow dot moving extremely fast on the radar screen. However, being far outside their optimum range, the Terran ship thrusters are burn hard upwards, causing the shots to miss by tens of seconds. The hard burn causing everyone to sink into the seats for a moment. Within seconds of cancelling out the momentum from the burn, the point defense cannons on the Terran ship emerge from their hidden mounts and immediately begin pounding towards the incoming torpedoes before lighting up space between them with bright streaks of 30mm tracer rounds fired at thousands of rounds per second from each gun. With each torpedo from the pirates being eliminated within seconds of getting within maximum range of the PDCs, their primitive targeting computer not able to make evasive maneuvers, unlike the Terran military-grade missiles. The Terran missiles streak towards the pirate ship. Their own PDCs fire, though at much slower rates and with smaller calibers, as the Terran missiles adjust their trajectories wildly to avoid the PDC fire, though still 3 of the missiles were intercepted before they struck home, lighting up the first 2 corvettes in bright balls of plasma as their warheads ignite upon impacting the ship's hull, turning whatever was caught in its blast radius into vapor, while the remaining part of the ship was red-hot slag. 2 more missiles were intercepted by the frigates. However, that wasn't enough to save them either. With the large ships being the biggest threat, they were targeted the most, and both were similarly turned into temporary stars within the dark void of space. The remaining corvette immediately turning around and burning hard away from the fleet, trying to cancel out its momentum and escape. Seems they're trying to get away. Shame they never surrendered, though. Fire 2 more missiles, Camel says while grabbing his cup of coffee and taking another unhealthily large swig. As the light thunk of the 2 more cargo containers hatches bursting up, and revealing their deadly cargo reverberates through the ship, followed soon by the beep of new contact signatures on the threat display board. The two missiles streak towards the remaining corvettes as the PDCs attempt to destroy them, barely scraping one before both impact. The only signal that they hit is a red dot disappear and the captain and gunner's threat display map. The strike successful notification from the fire control AI. Well, that was quick. Comms, get me a tight beam to the other captains. I want to see their faces, the captain says with a satisfied grin. He loves seeing the faces of captains who just found out exactly what the Terran's cargo was on their ship. Almost makes it worth being transferred from the Navy battleship to Q ship patrols. 2534 CE, June 25th. Mixed species cargo convoy currently passing through system 2342 in the Orion Arm. Piracy threat 0%. List of ships in convoy. Morellian cargo freighter, VSS Eyes of Glory. Basic point defense cannons, convoy head. Morellian luxury transport, VLC Starry Skies, unarmed. Karasi cargo freighter, KCI screw taxes, basic point defense cannons. Erisian cargo freighter, IFC profit for profit, substantial point defense cannons. Terran Navy anti-piracy Q-ship, disguised cargo freighter, UNCS Venus flytrap. Extreme number of point defense cannons, ship-to-ship missiles, and chaff. End of story. I would quickly like to thank the T5 channel members and Patreons. Caspar Arnholtz, Cam Maxwell, Barky, Lord Azrakal, It's Difficult to Pronounce, Dragzoon WRE, Holly's Sister, Arcadian. Thank you very much.